Kensington NKCDC. And I'd like to welcome you to our May virtual health hour, Change Can Happen with Reentry and Beyond Part 2. Today's guests will be Paula Budnick and Tariq Ryant from Lawyers from Social Equity and Beyond, which deals with the pardon process. They also serve on the Pardon Project Steering Committee. And now I would like to turn over to Paula and Tariq to tell us a little bit about their jobs and to answer questions from my fellow CHW worker, Margarita Gonzalez. Paula?
Hi, Sharon. Thank you.
Hi, welcome, Paula. How are you?
Good. I just want to make sure there's not a lot of feedback. Okay. And just remind Tariq of where we are. I realize that we're live. So my name is Paula Budnick. I am there's Tariq. Tariq was going to lead in. Are you okay with Tariq starting after he connects, or would you like me to continue?
Whichever's comfortable for either one of you.
Yeah, Tariq was going to lead because he's much more interesting than I am. And he's connected to audio now.
Okay.
Tariq?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, and guess what? Your timing is perfect. There you are.
Can you see me? I'm actually doing a catering right now, so I took some time out to do this event with you guys and talk about Pulse and talk about the pardon process and all of my success with Pulse, all of my success with the pardon process, and just all of my successes in life, if time permits.
You're on.
Oh, I'm on. So I guess that was the perfect segue. So I've been working to wow, what do you got to do to get this, prestigious honor? And I felt like I fit that mold, through all of my successes and all of my education and then my volunteer work and, a lot of the things that I've done, they were just second nature. I didn't do it in lieu of, wanting a pardon. It's just things that I wanted to do to stay busy and, just be, rooted in the community. So, like I said, I met one of the lawyers at a pardon clinic in Sharon Hill, and we started talking. And I met, at the time, it was Lieutenant Governor. I think his name was Michael Stack. I met with his secretary. I think his name was Fran something. I can't remember his name, but he helped me out, and he explained to me after numerous emails back and forth that the time may not have been right for me. He said usually for my type of crime, they want to look to like 20 years. And my crime was like right around like 15, 16 years. So he said, I think it was just a matter of time, and not that you didn't fit that mold, but I think you just need a little bit more time. So I got with Pulse and started working with the steering committee, and it's all geared around, helping others through the pardon process, developing workshops to aid people that want to get a pardon. And then also Pulse does a lot of work directly with Harrisburg and the Board of Pardons, Secretary Flood and a couple other people with amending some of the processes of the application. And for me, back in 2016, 17, some of the questions that they ask are just, how it's one of those things, like it's like if it's not broke, don't fix it. So they probably never had any motivation to like amend any of the questions and any of the the language in the application. But it's kind of redundant. It's kind of like, how we trend in different ways in 2020. It's like some of the things is just like, it doesn't even make sense for what we're trying to accomplish and what you guys want to, portray to the public as a board, So Pulse has been successful with, amending some of the application process, which really, spearheads and streamlines a lot of the stuff that just is kind of like, ambiguous and just really doesn't like really fit the mold. So I started a reconsideration process with Pulse. which I knew nothing about. See, and that's another thing. I knew nothing. I never knew that there was a reconsideration process. I thought I had to go all the way, from ground zero and start all the way over again. But that wasn't the case. They enlightened me that, well, look, it's been X amount of months. You can, 100%, apply for a reconsideration. That's what we did. And we got in, and my date was my date was December 2020, December 7th, 2020. I went up, and everything was Zoom, but I still, I put my suit on, put my tie, tied tight, made sure my audio, all my technical stuff was good. And I presented myself as if I was in front of them in Harrisburg. And I think they felt that. And by the time that I explained to them, a lot of my successes, graduating from Temple, graduating from CCP, being a real estate investor, opening up 3 restaurants. By that time, when I explained everything to them, and then not to mention a lot of my letters of recommendation came from the district attorney's office. It came from Pulse, which, the Attorney General Josh Shapiro spoke directly about Pulse at my hearing, just saying that he has a lot of respect for Pulse, and I'm glad that we, able to work with them. And then, by the end of it, they were asking me to put names to menu items on my menu from names of them. So we were, it was so, I was like overjoyed. Because we were laughing at this meeting, you know what I mean? And it just put me at like so much ease from when I went to the Supreme Court in Harrisburg and was in front of all of the Supreme Court justices. It's very intimidating, for lack of a better term. It's very intimidating. And I wasn't anxious. I was just speaking, and I got the reconsideration. I got 3 votes to 1, and it was 4 on the panel. So I was able to gain a vote of yes for a pardon.
Okay, great. Also, I have a quick question for Tyreek. How
Sure.
long did it take for you to get pardoned when you started your process?
So that's another thing that Pulse is working with, Secretary Flood and the Board of Pardons on, is the length of time that it takes. It almost took, I'm gonna be honest with you, it was almost like 2 years from the time that they told me that they received my application. It probably took 2 years for me to get some movement, to get like a date in Harrisburg.
Also, one more question, sorry.
Sure, take your time. I love this. I love it.
Right, okay. Do you know what's the process someone would have to take and who is eligible for it?
Yeah, so eligibility, there is some prereqs to eligibility. But for the most part, anybody that was, so if you were convicted, let me give you some clarity real quick. If you were convicted of a felony, you have to first get it pardoned and then get it expunged. You can't get it expunged without having it pardoned first. If you were just arrested and you have an arrest report or arrest record, on your jacket, you can get that expunged.
Okay.
Without getting a pardon. But can you just ask me that question one more time? I don't think I answered your first question.
They said they wanted to know what was the process for the pardons and who's eligible for it.
Yeah, so anybody is eligible for it. There are some prerequisites to it though. And that's all outlined, like I think in the first page of the application. But you go online to PA Board of Pardons, or you can write to the Board of Pardons, and it's like a $10 money order, $10 fee for the application.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah, it's something small. They got to tax us for something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So yeah, it was like $10. I downloaded mine and just printed it out and just went from there. But you 100% can mail to them, and with the money order, and they'll send it to you squirrel mail if you want to do it that way.
Okay, great. All right, those are the only 2 questions I have for you right now.
No problem.
Okay. So Paula, you can talk now.
What I was trying to do, is the chat open? I can't seem to cut and paste all the links and the information that Tariq referred to. For some reason, it's not cutting and pasting. So I can send that information to Gwen if you'd like,
Yes,
or to
that'll be
someone
great.
else.
Yeah, you can send it to Gwen, or and she'll just forward it to us.
Okay, yeah, I had a whole page of information also. Not only the link to the Board of Pardons, but the link to Philadelphia Lawyers for Social Equity, of which Tariq and I serve on the steering committee board. So thanks, Tariq. I know you're busy and successfully busy, and Tariq and I, we're highly involved in advocacy, and
That's great.
we're social justice, social changers. And we're committed to that, and even with Tariq's busy schedule. So I am Paula Budnick. I am a member of the Pardon Project Steering Committee, which is part of Philadelphia Lawyers for Social Equity. I am also, in other days, I was also known as prisoner number 6604. And I was convicted of felonies as a result of a ravenous addiction. And that happened, my incarceration years happened, I never needed to explore a pardon or expungement. So I kept putting it on the back burner, which, again, another point, don't put it on the back burner right now. The political atmosphere right now it's ripe for applying for a pardon. So my process was much lengthier and also a little expensive, because I didn't know about places like Philadelphia Lawyers for Social Equity. I didn't know that there were pardon clinics. I didn't know that there were resources available to me. And so by the time my employment ended and I wanted to do other things that required, by this time, everything's online, everything's electronic. And of course, you get to the end of the application of everything you want to do, be it volunteer, gainful employment, and the question, the $100 million question is always, have you ever been convicted of a felony? And I just want to be able to say to people, wait, don't you know who I am? I've had this illustrious, successful career. I've traveled across the country. People have trusted me with millions and millions of dollars in grants. And all you really want to know is, that's all you're ever going to know, because nothing electronically gives people the opportunity to personalize this experience, such as what you're doing now by hosting this virtual health hour. So to that end, I started the process of applying for a pardon, and it was a laborious process. And by the time I got to Harrisburg, first of all, I made mistakes on my application. They were incomplete. And so that had to be resubmitted. I started in 2014, before all the changes that Tariq talked about, that we really, I think that Pulse and the Pardon, specifically the members of the Pardon Project Steering Committee, really helped to move that change forward. It also helps that we have Secretary Flood and the administration changed. So I started in 2014, my application was returned, and I finally, and I'll tell you this, I had a vacation planned, and I got the letter that I was supposed to be in Harrisburg. And I wanted to, everything in me knew, I wanted to go on that well-earned vacation that I hadn't had in so long. And everything in me knew this was my moment. I had to go to Harrisburg. Now, that's another change also that I want to talk about, is that I don't know if maybe it's a blessing they're going in person. Don't drive. Don't be in the car driving or be distracted by doing anything else. I consider this moment in time to be my 15 minutes of fame. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but it was like, Paula, you have to prove yourself. Look at all you've done. And when I got there, I didn't even realize that I'd have 15 minutes. And I sat there, and with all my heart, I would say a little bit of prayer. I was scared to death. I was dressed to the nines. I knew what I needed to do. I wasn't afraid. But when you're approaching such an esteemed group of political movers and shakers, don't waver, don't be afraid. Stand your ground, know who you are and everything that you stand for. And that's what I continue to tell myself. And I took that time and I addressed the 5-person board, which is made up of different people from various roles. One's, probation, one, obviously we all know Josh Shapiro, and former attorney, the attorney general, who's also trying to put his hat in for governor as well. So the political atmosphere is changing. There's also someone from the prison system that sits on the board. So I knew when I was done that I presented myself I was satisfied with my presentation. And you know how when you really know you've hit a personal home run for yourself in your own self-advocacy. I knew that. As a result of that, there were other people in the courtroom at the time. And I also went up when Mike Stack was the secretary at the time, like Tariq. There were other people in the courtroom at the time that invited me, because I'm right outside of Philadelphia proper, that invited me to be a member. And then Toby Oxholm, who is the director of Philadelphia Lawyers for Social Equity, invited me to join the steering committee. And so I want to talk about, I want to take a few minutes to talk about fast forward to that long process. And then after you get before I went up to the board, there was a merit review, which is actually happening today as well, where a representative from the parole board traveled from Harrisburg to my home to conduct a 2-hour interview where I had to answer. There were, I don't know how many questions were on that application, Tariq, but it asks you everything but what color underwear you wore yesterday. And you better have it all in place. And you know how bureaucrats are, is that the more information you have for a bureaucrat, the smoother the process will go. Give them what they want. So that was fine. We got through it. And then they in turn partner and make the recommendation for you to go before the parole board. Once I went before the parole board and the vote comes in, then your part is done. Our part is done, because then it goes to the governor's desk. And there it sits until that moment in time where you get in the mail, whether you get your pardon, which both Tariq and I did. As a result of both of us being on the Pardon Project Steering Committee and the change with Secretary Flood being appointed, having been in some of the same shoes that we've walked in, he's a person that has lived experience. So we had the opportunity just before the pandemic. We had the opportunity to meet in person with him to start to effectuate change and let him know that the archaic laws that still are in place, that we intend to try to change, but until that time that law is changed, we want to try to change process. And that process includes, why are you charging people a fee? People don't have money when they're applying. And once you see the application, a lot of people, whether they have reading abilities or whatever their level of reading and writing ability is, people need help, which is why we have pardon clinics and we encourage people that are part of New Kensington CDC, please encourage people to come to the pardon clinic, see if they can get an intake done by a trained, I know you have trained pardon coaches, at least people that could initiate the intake process to see if people are eligible. And then we will make sure, we promise you, we will make sure we will walk people through the pardon process, because it can be very overwhelming and very intimidating for people. I know people that are college educated that once they open that link, if they step back, they don't know where to go. They don't know where to begin. And that's what we are here to continue to encourage people. The other thing that we've done is we got the merit review application streamlined. We also had a change. We had a petition on change.org. Once you get through and get your hearing, now it's online. And like Tariq said, you dress as if you're going to be there and presenting there, is that we don't want your application to be sitting on the governor's desk. And that's where we are right now. Now, the links that I'm going to put in the chat for everyone also has the dates of the merit review, but you can always go on boardofpardons.gov. And right now, I know that our partners in some of the other advocacy, like Amistad Law Process, the ACLU, and some other agencies that we are also collaborating with, they are storming the merit review this afternoon to oppose the Board of Pardons' decision to start to consider that people that owe court fines be excluded right now. And Pulse, actually, we just submitted a letter from Philadelphia Lawyers for Social Equity. So we want you to know that we are pushing political advocacy. That's where we are right now, to encourage people to continue to apply. And we will not stop until the rest of the changes that we want to see are implemented. So I don't know if there was anything else. I know I covered a lot. I'm very passionate, like Tariq, about, and I didn't even know I was passionate until I was invited to be a change agent, a social change agent in this movement. So if there's anything else, we're more than happy to be here for you as a reference and a support.
Wow, that was very informative. Thank you, Paula. I have a few questions for you from my fellow CHWs and a few of our clients. They wanted to know, what is the difference between a pardon and expungement?
I can take that. They're basically like, they work like one and the same, but the difference, like I think I touched on it earlier. So when you get your record expunged, it's no longer, it does not exist. Like the state police record, the whole record in general is gone. If you were convicted of something and it was expunged, it does not come up anymore. It's eradicated. Okay. And a pardon is a step in getting an expungement. Okay. So remember I told you, you can get a case expunged. Like me, I had a case I had a court case, 1998. I wasn't found guilty of it, but I got arrested for it. So I beat it in court. So I was able to get that expunged. I think I used Danny Alva and Associates to get that expunged. It cost like $700, but you know, when police officers pull you over and they get your name, it pops up. You know, and it just sometimes it gives them hunch work. You know, it doesn't give them a reasonable doubt, but it gives them hunch work. You know, oh, he was arrested for drugs before. He probably got drugs on him now. See, so now, like when the cops pull you over, or you know, you confronted by an officer and they pull your name, nothing comes up. So you're working with a clean slate. You're not working with any biases. So, like I said, the expungement, you can get anything expunged off of your record that you were not found guilty of. If you were found guilty of it, you have to go to the pardon process to get it expunged. So the pardon is just a component of the expungement.
Okay, thank you. Another question. How long after you are convicted of a felony can you get pardoned?
Paula, you know the exact?
Yeah, so
thing?
there really, yeah, so there really technically is no time from a lawful perspective. And I'm not a lawyer, but I just know from the fact sheet that we have, but the farther you are away from the crime, the better it is when you go before the pardon board. So if we think about the time frame, like Tariq said, it took a couple years, which we don't want that to discourage people. But if you file as soon as you can, and the other components to nothing is an easy answer. The other components to that are, it's not just the time frame, it's how you show yourself on paper. So if you just got out, if you just got released, is there gainful employment? Is there what are you doing in your community? They want to know that. Where are your letters of support? They want them. So it's an entire portrait of who you are away from the convictions. And that, for anybody, as we both know, Tariq, takes some time to establish in our community. So that it's favorable that the farther you are, but at the same time, file as soon as you can, as soon as you possibly can.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Real quick, I touched on, so like I was fortunate to, when I went to the pardon clinic, when I met with the lieutenant governor's secretary, he gave me some insight onto, you know, why I was denied. And like, remember I mentioned that they said for violent crimes, you know, they want to see like 20 years. You know what I mean? And in the 90s, I had a violent crime. So they wanted to see. So I guess like encrypted time frames, you know, aside from the fact sheet, they like, you know, like Paula said, you know, file as soon as possible. But the further, you know, the more separated you are from that conviction, definitely looks better, and definitely you'll get a little more movement with the process. You know, further separated you are from the date and the year of the crime.
The other piece too is that I had felonies. And so the other piece to that is that first I filed for the pardon application, then comes the merit review. So that also takes time. Then your hearing, and then I was looking for, I want to make sure this is what you're waiting for, the gold seal.
Oh,
I had no idea. So this, and what it does is it, in legalese, I don't know that language. I have to go back to school for that. But in legalese, it pretty much says for every crime you committed, and you see this is a 2-pager, some of those crimes were felonies. So I got the pardon, And then I had to go back to each county because I was cross-county criminal. And you won't see that on my resume either. So then I had to go back to each county and then file expungement, make sure there's no fees, outstanding fees. I didn't even know that there were fees. Now, the reason, part of why it took so long as well is that in the late 70s and early 80s, which may not be applicable to some people that are interested in applying, but things were just beginning to be digitized at that point. So it's not like you could look up Paula Budnick, prisoner number 6604, and all the records would magically appear. But I'll tell you what, those fines I owed appeared and they had to be paid. So that was and then each county then what I call sent a record of forgiveness, and that then leads the expungement. So it is a two-step process.
Okay, another question is, what's the difference between a president's pardon and a governor's pardon? You're muted. I'm sorry, Parla.
That's a great question. I would think the governor's pardon, and I'm going to take that back to Toby, to our partners there at Pulse, because the answer on the top of my head is that a president's pardon, it would be for anyone, anywhere. I mean, a governor only has jurisdiction over the state that they're elected. And I would think that the president has the power to pardon himself in some administrations. Tariq, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Because I was thinking back to when Barack Obama was letting all of those people out of prison, and I think that was the president's pardon. And I think it's more, and I think it's also aligned with releasing people from prison, and also, like you said, pardon, giving, extending that pardon to whom he wishes, and not just that that government elected official for that state. So yeah, that's something we could take back to Toby. But I think you nailed it, and I think also, like I said, when I think it's falling right in line with when Obama did that, when he was freeing all those people from prison. I think that was, I'm like 50-50 on that, like that was a president's pardon. So yeah, we definitely do some research on that and get back to you guys with it. There were some questions in the chat.
Hold on, let me check that out. I'm sorry, I didn't have my chat open. But yeah, it says, what is the process to help someone fill out the form for a pardon?
Paula, you want to take that? Did we lose Paula?
No, I wanted to, what I had to do was break up all the links I wanted to share with people about the merit review, and everything's in the chat now. So the links.
Yes, I see that. Thank you.
So the process, can you repeat the question?
Sure.
Will there be someone to help?
It says here, what is the process to help someone fill out the form for a pardon?
So there's a couple of different ways. If you can get yourself to a pardon clinic, and you could, through social media, you could go on Philadelphia Lawyers for Social Equity. Oftentimes the pardon clinic announcements at different places around the city are available, and you can attend a pardon clinic. If you can't attend a pardon clinic, you can click the link for Philadelphia Lawyers for Social Equity and go to the link around pardon, and then that will take you to a link for intakes. You can reach out to anyone at Philadelphia Lawyers for Social Equity, and most likely they will get back to you if you need help walking through the pardon process and filling out the application, that is primarily what we're here for.
Okay, and I have one more last question. If someone has a juvenile record, when becoming an adult, does that record still exist? And if so, can that be expunged or pardoned?
Good
Hear me there.
question. I think they're working on that.
Yeah, from my understanding, your juvenile record does not follow you through adulthood. If your crime was before the age of 18, I think some felonies do carry over. But then there was some new movement. Like a lot of guys that that I was away with, that they called it juvenile life. And I forget what that sentence looked like, but a lot of them, and then some of them even had life. Some had juvenile life, and then some had life. But they committed the crime. They were tried as adults at age 16, 17. They might have had a homicide at age 16, 17. And it was so crazy. I actually seen like two guys on Facebook that was supposed to never come home. And I couldn't believe it. Then I actually bumped into one, in Philly. And he was like, some new, I don't know what it was, some new law passed that said that through the lens of a psychologist or a psychiatrist, that between the ages, like if you were of age 16 or 17 and you committed that kind of a crime, that your brain capacity could not even, know what you did to really like control what you did. So they were released on a technicality from some new law that passed. So that's something else we could look into. But yeah, from my understanding, your juvenile record does not follow you through adulthood. Certain crimes do, though. I think like rape and attempted murder and stuff like that. I think you do have to get it expunged, but for the most part, in my understanding, that your juvenile record does not follow, like shoplifting or like misdemeanor crimes do not follow you over to adulthood.
And then I have one question. The only fees is it just the $10 fee you mentioned, or is there anything else that someone will have to pay to get it done?
Yeah, I think we waived that. I think we got the fee waived, the application fee waived. I think it is critical that right now, I think I put in the chat the dates of the merit review and the public hearings.
Yes.
Today, well, we just got word, I think, this week that the Board of Pardons, we had worked in our advocacy efforts to not exclude anyone who owed fines and fees, because it's a never-ending cycle of, well, you have to get a job or you have to have access to cash to pay your fines. But if you can't get a job because you have a record, chicken and egg, so forth and so on, we did get that waived. This is brand new news to me, is that the Board of Pardons somehow asked that those people that still owe outstanding fines be excluded. We are challenging that decision because it's just unfair. And we'll keep you posted about that.
Okay,
But
so
even if you are making an effort, $2, $5, whatever, I think that goes a long way, is that presenting the case of, I don't have any money, Your Honor, but I did put $5 to it February and April and May when I had money to put to it.
Okay, now when you mean they get excluded, are they excluded from getting the fee waived, or they're excluded from the entire pardon process?
Right now, my understanding is that we are challenging their decision to not look at any completed applications where people owe fines or costs. And we
Okay.
don't want people to be discouraged from filling out their application to
Of
proceed
course.
with for a pardon.
Okay, right. And then I see here in the chat that you have, well, hold on, I'm sorry, I passed it a little bit. Something about a training hold on. It says, for like a church or a synagogue or a mosque to become a hub. So is that a training? The training is free for someone that, or for one of them places to become a pardon clinic?
Right, so we want to give accolades to our partnership and collaboration with you, New Kensington CDC. You are considered a pardon hub. You've been trained, you have people that are trained, you can hold a clinic or name a date. You have people that can at least, they're trained by Pulse, my understanding, and can walk people through the process. If there are any people listening, and this is, I see that it's being streamed, and they belong to any church or any organization that is interested in becoming a pardon hub, we wanted to make sure that you had that information.
Okay, great. Okay. Well, I think that's all the questions we have for you guys today. We really appreciate you coming out and spending time with us and sharing all this great information and to get it out there to everyone, because people definitely need to know about these resources that are available to them. So we thank you for everything. I think that's all we have for now.
Thank you so much for having us and for hosting this forum. It's a great virtual health hour.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Thank you.
Have a
Take
safe one.
care.
You too. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.